Moise.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to our session this afternoon. And it's a session organized by the Do Nation Foundation. I want to say thank you to them for such an inspiring session that we are going to have this afternoon. As the theme says, Fathers Arise. And it's an important theme because we know that in our modern society, fathers are basically, the role of a father has been minimized and has been looked down upon. And today we realize that it is important that we encourage you fathers, that we encourage all of you who are fathers to rise up in this season, to rise up in this time where things are even more difficult, and to play an active role and to be present in the lives of your children. We know that there are fathers who are negligent and who are lazy. And because of our optimism this afternoon, we do encourage that all of you who are here, you will get a note of encouragement to rise up. All of you listening to us, you will get that encouragement to rise up and become active and present, as I said before, in the lives of your children. There's a verse from the Bible that says, let us not become weary in doing good, because later on you will reap the good harvest of what's going to come out of it. So as you raise your children, as you do good, you will be proud and you will stand up and you will smile at how good you have performed in the lives of your children. It's never too late. It's possible to do it now. And so here we are this afternoon, giving the support and the encouragement that you, the fathers, will need. And so I'd like to say welcome and thank you all of you for being present.
So thank you to Mr. Joseph and Mr. Moise, respectively. Up next, we're going to have an introduction of Do Nation Foundation, and this will be done by Mr. Modestus Louis, who is taking a seat for now.
It is better.
It is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. Not my words. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to fathers like myself. Some of you may be grandfathers. Good afternoon to those who are following online. Good afternoon to the fathers who never actually produced children, but who have fathered them. And they, not you, are so important. I just told you, you just heard, that it is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. Do Nation is seeking to do just that. There are ills in society, no one can dispute that. And at any given time, in any given place, you will hear people lamenting of all the ills in society. Whether it be the homes, whether it be those who are on the streets, whatever. How many are doing anything about it? Very few. There is, however, a young woman who grew up seeing all of that around her. She saw the broken homes, the abuses, the fights, even between spouses within the families. She saw that. Some of it she may even have experience with them. And she grew up with this burning desire, not just to talk about it, but to do something about it. Out of that desire was born the organization which has brought us all here today, Do Nation Foundation. Now, it's merely a play on the word donation. And we know what is a donation. It is giving. Donation is about giving. Giving back. And it's become a buzzword. Everybody talks about giving back, giving back, giving back. But what really is it? Donation is looking to make a difference. One life at a time. Now I can tell you that the way donation is started, I should say we, because I'm part of the organization. We are definitely going to touch more than one life at a time. Take this forum. This is about fathers. A group which has been marginalized in society. Everywhere you go, fathers are brought down. You don't hear anything positive about fathers. Today, I want to introduce you to one individual. And she's in the background. I know she doesn't want to be recognized, but I will ask everyone to turn around and look at Mrs. Diane Felicia. Give them a little wave, Diane. Give them a little wave. Yes. Diane Felicia. She's the one who had the vision for this organization, Do Nation. An organization which she intends to touch the lives of our people here in St. Lucia. She has seen it all. She has seen the effects of what can happen. Because, let's face it, the government, first of all, as far as their budgetary constraints go, it can't do it. And in many cases, no offense intended to the people who work in the government service, but sometimes the burden is so overwhelming that some of them just go through the motions. And so the lives within, who they're supposed to be helping, don't get the help that they deserve. But Diane had that vision. And she founded an organization called Do Nation, along with, is it her bosom buddy? Can I ask Ms. Claudia Niles to give us a little wave? Yes, thank you. She's the executive director. Diane is the founder and the CEO of Do Nation. In its short existence, Do Nation has made waves. Do Nation has partnered with international organizations. Do Nation is reaching out into the community, helping people, not making a song and dance of it. No. Too much of the time, we want to do something, but we want to do it when the band is playing and when everybody's watching, so you can get the applause. Hey, doing something good. That is not what Do Nation is about. And a number of people have gathered around those two, Diane Felicia and Claudia Niles, This forum is the result of that. And we have people within this organization. Stan, your moderator. I mean, this man, when you hear the things he does, you look for a man twice the size, maybe my size, because obviously you need some broad shoulders to carry the weight. Darnley sitting over there. Now, I'm not going to start naming names because I would have to name everyone. We have a fantastic team. And I want to assure you, St. Lucian, that this is not all you're going to hear about Do Nation Foundation. Do Nation has set out to make a difference in this country. We're reaching out to the marginalized, the vulnerable, the poor, the indigent. We're reaching out. The ambition is wonderful. And we're asking those of you who are like-minded to partner with us. Those who know that you have something to give. Those who, like the song says, are ready to carry your candle. Because somebody has said it, when you light another candle from yours, it does not diminish your flame. What it does is increase the light. Look for the opportunities. And even if you are not a member of an organization like Do Nation, look around you, where you live, where you work, when you're walking down the street, where you're lying. Is there somebody at your favorite bar who always drinks till he's drunk? It may be an issue which is causing that. Sometimes you need to talk to someone. So I want to welcome you. It's not my job to welcome you, but on behalf of Do Nation Foundation, welcome again. On behalf of Mrs. Diane Finstein, who is the CEO and the founder, Mrs. Claudia Niles, who is the executive director, and all the other hard workers, welcome. And let us hope that this forum tonight touches the nerves where they need to be touched. I thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Louis. Today's session is entitled My Life as a Dad. I think in the life of a dad is never easy. I have 3 girls whose lives I've been part of for the past 14 years. Stuff. They're very well behaved and all of that. But one of the best jobs or responsibilities I've ever had is being a dad. Yeah. Granted that my father was hardly around, but whatever time I spent with him, he always showed that he cared. He wasn't a rich man or anything, but I always took the values of him trying to tell me not to be like him or take certain paths that he did. So I thank him for that. But I want to start with a joke. Dad, do you know the difference between a pack of cookies and a pack of elephants? A little boy asks his father. No, the father responds. Then it's a good thing mom does the grocery shopping, the boy replies. So fathers always get the other end of the stick, but so it goes with the territory. So good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to the live panel discussion entitled Fathers Rise, hosted by Donation Foundation. During the discussion, we delve into the sub-theme, My Life as a Dad. I also bid welcome to my esteemed panelists, who are men from different walks of life, but they run into each other on the same path of life because everybody has to come to Catch Street. With a common purpose, and their common purpose is to play an integral role in the holistic development of not only theirs, but society's children. My name is Stan Bishop, and I've been coerced into moderating today's timely discussion. Notice I said coerced, right? And notice I didn't say fatherate, I said moderate. So mothers still have their top place right up there, but we'll skip by that quickly. Like I said earlier, today's panel discussion is being hosted by Donation Foundation. It's a non-profit and philanthropic organization that has taken up the mantle of advocacy for the affected and marginalized in St. Lucia. Donation Foundation tackles the social ills faced by the people of St. Lucia through a holistic approach by engaging highly skilled volunteer professionals to carry out its mandate. Obviously, we need donations to fuel Donation Foundation. Today, they take up the role fathers play in our society. Father's Day is a time when we recognize fathers and father figures and their contributions to their children, as well as society overall. There are tremendous advantages that are afforded to children who have active, involved fathers during childhood and adolescence. A 2018 study conducted by the Fatherhood Project, that's an international non-profit program, researched the specific impacts of father engagement during the different childhood development phases. The research revealed these 10 important facts. 1. Fathers and infants can be equally as attached as mothers and infants. When both parents are involved with the child, infants are attached to both parents from the beginning of life. That sounds like straightforward. Number 2. Father involvement is related to positive child health outcomes in infants, such as improved weight gain in preterm infants and improved breastfeeding rates. 3. Father involvement using authoritative parenting. Boy, don't do that. I'll tell your father. That's what obtains now. But back in the day when your mother says, I'll tell your father when you come, you go. Now, so, father involvement using authoritative parenting, that is loving and with clear boundaries and expectations, leads to better emotional, academic, social, and behavioral outcomes for children. 4. Children who feel a closeness to their father are twice as likely as those who do not to enter college or find stable employment after high school. 75% less likely to have a teen birth, 80% less likely to spend time in jail, and half as likely to experience multiple depression symptoms. I'll repeat number 4. Children who feel a closeness to their father are twice as likely as those who do not enter college or find stable employment after high school. 75% less likely to have a teen birth, 80% less likely to spend time in jail, and half as likely to experience multiple depression symptoms. Number 5, fathers occupy a critical role in child development. Father absence hinders development from early infancy through childhood and into adulthood. The psychological harm of father absence experienced during childhood persists throughout the life course of the child. 6. The quality of the father-to-child relationship matters more than the specific amount of hours spent together. Non-resident fathers can have positive effects on children's social and emotional well-being, as well as academic achievement and behavioral adjustments. 7. High levels of father involvement are correlated with higher levels of sociability, confidence, and self-control in children. Children with involved fathers are less likely to act out in school or engage in risky behaviors in adolescence. 8. Children with actively involved fathers are 43% more likely to earn A's in school and 33% less likely to repeat a grade than those without engaged fathers. 9. Father engagement reduces the frequency of behavioral problems in boys while also decreasing delinquency and economic disadvantage in low-income families. And 10. Father engagement reduces psychological problems and rates of depression in young women. Overall, the impact that fathers and father figures can make is substantial, as Modesta said a while ago. Just as there are many positive aspects to father involvement, the effects of father absence can also be detrimental. This panel discussion is the first of 3 phases designed to get the opinions from fathers from all walks of life, the guys who bounce up with each other in castries or jazz or carnival, on the expectations of fathers from family and society. And the topics we're going to be speaking about will be men and family, social welfare, the good, the bad, and the ugly, men sharing their feelings. Yeah, we have to talk about that today. And 4, living up to the world's expectations of men. Living up to the world's expectation of men. At this point, I'll invite my panelists to introduce themselves briefly because I don't think I'll be able to do that. I know them too much.
As definitely what wisdom among equals. I think I'll go first. My name is Modestus Louis. I am a father. I am a grandfather. But most importantly, I am a son. So I'm here to share with you my experiences. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just that none of them were only good. I am retired currently and growing a beard for the first time in a long time.
Good evening. Thank you very much, first of all, to Do Nation Foundation for having me here, especially as a panel of esteemed gentlemen and fathers. My name is Shane Cherry. I'm a TV host, TV producer, and I am a father. I'm a young father. I'm not young, but I'm a young father because I started late, and that's by choice, not chance. Because I have a full belief that, fathers should be mature men. A 25-year-old has no place being a father. This is my belief. 30 and up, 35, you're a mature man, or you should be a mature man. I think you should be able to play a role better as a father. And so I started late, by choice. I'm very happy to be here to share my experiences as a father. I've only been a father for the last 10 years. I have no grandchildren, obviously. Modesta said, who has all of the experience. And it's a pleasure to be here to share my experience. Thank
you. Good evening to all. It's a privilege to be here and to see that I went to Do Nation for this opportunity to come and speak with the men and of course with everyone else. My name is Dennis Joseph. I am a father, alright, and I look at being a father as a privilege I look at being a father as a task that God has placed on myself. And of course, we know the challenges when there are certain men, there are challenges, and it's really something that, when let's say you can have children and, so much issues. So definitely, I will tell them here that when you are given the opportunity to be a father, it's really a blessing. And I will of course will speak about different views being a father. And when I look at the whole role of being a father, it is very essential to the survival of society. And I listened to our monitor very well, and he did say that fathers is almost like, a species that's dying out. And the nation has given that opportunity, this avenue where we can speak to the men. And hope that online that the men are listening, and of course, we get questions, and then we have a wonderful time here. And as the theme here, Fathers Arise, I pray to God that we arise. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zachary Hippolyte. I am a sergeant of police. I'm currently in charge of the Community Relations branch of the Royal Central Police Force. I'm also a father of a very beautiful and intelligent 13-year-old, Zachary Hippolyte. Daddy loves you. I know you're watching. I'm very happy to be here. I'm sitting at this table with distinguished gentlemen. Thank you, Donation, for the opportunity to share my life experience of being a father and share my concerns and contributions when it comes to parenting and fatherhood. And also, Donation, you could not have chosen a better date, as today, if he were alive, my father would be celebrating his birthday. So, yes. Joseph Hippolyte, also known as Daddy Box. Yeah, so I'm very happy to be here, especially on today's date, and I am ready to share my experiences with you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Pleasant good evening, one and all. My name is Peter Lewis. I am a father, and more than anything, I am a volunteer. And so it warms my heart to know that Donation, in their very own way, is supporting the idea of volunteering. And not only the concept of donation, as in donation from what Mr. Lee presented, but we're looking at donation in terms of our time, our talent, and whatever it is we can bring to advance the idea of advocating on issues that are very important to us. I'm very pleased to be here today, and more so because we're dealing with men, and central issue to men is the role of father, because I think now more than ever, I think it is something to be put center stage. I think that to use the word marginalized is even a little soft, because somehow we see men and men's issues somehow being pushed so far down on the agenda that you could almost say, okay, women, children, animals, and pets. I mean, there are men, the men can come along. And it is very serious. And I've been blessed to have 2 sons. I've been a father for almost 18 years now. And I am grateful to the fact that I have the privilege of being able to build directly through my sons another generation of men, but more so for my volunteer work to advance and assist in terms of building future men. So I trust that our conversation here for the meeting. I trust that those in watching online will participate. They can submit their questions and they can also be part of the discussion. I look forward to all the other men who are here. I see some of the audience that I know very well, and that we can really lead that the time of respect. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. A round of applause for our panelists. Two things. Every father that we invited showed up. That's commendable. Yeah. So thank you for that. And number two, Shane picks on me a lot. I mean, you all see us looking cordial and all that, but he always picks on me a lot of pun and stuff. Remember he said twice, he said he started late by choice, and he's sticking to tradition by Easter by choice. Yeah. So, don't mess with me. So gentlemen, how difficult is it keeping all of this together as fathers? I mean, obviously, everybody has said so far that it's not easy being a father, because in many instances you have to decide to be a father, or sometimes even if you didn't. And like in Shane's case, he actually waited a long period of time to decide to be a father. But after you do become a father, how difficult is it keeping it all together? The emotional, financial, psychological. How difficult is it keeping this all together? Anybody can go, but we want to hear from each of you, how difficult is fatherhood in your estimation? And you can start with, how you would have seen your own fathers trying to keep it all together, and whether that would have inspired you.
Since we're at an all-men's forum, I will start the batting. The ladies wouldn't understand that. I will put the batting. I want to correct something, Mr. Moderator. I happen to know Mr. Cherry very well. And Mr. Cherry said that he chose to become a father much later on by choice. But from what I know, I can put it out there. We have no disclaimer.
Oh my goodness.
From what I know, Mr. Cherry has been an educator for a long time. So he was actually being a father before he actually had his own. I know he doesn't want to take credit for that, but I just like to put that out there. So he probably was a father long before 25. So, okay, we start at that point. So we've established that fact and he concedes to that. Okay. Being a father, the challenge of being a father, I think it would be hard for anyone who's a father not to admit. The first thing that happens to you when you become a father is automatically you realize you have to grow. Automatically, that's the first thing that sets in. You have responsibility for the life or lives of young, tender ones. The next shocking thing you might find out is that you are far more emotional than you ever recognize. Because all of a sudden, that little bite mark, you hear yourself saying things that you want to go, And I can share my own personal experience. The most humbling experience I had was that my first son was ill. We took him to the hospital. And we had to put an IV. And the doctors and the nurses have this special procedure that they do where they wrap the children using the blanket so that they immobilize their hands. And to see this young, tender one of yours cry to the point where they look at you into your eyes, almost as if, save me. And I'm saying that at the end, the eyes getting everything. I would have water, I assure you. But it is one of the most humbling experiences I've had in my life, because it draws out of you that emotion that you didn't even know was there. You grow up as a young man, you're told, oh, stand up now, come on, toughen up, and you go through. And until that point, unless if you have very young siblings and you encounter that kind of experience, yeah, that brings out of it. From the financial aspect, I think any young man who is not prepared mentally, that is the key thing, mentally, to embrace the idea of fatherhood, will find it very difficult. The financial, it's quite shocking because all of a sudden you realize the job that was once fun, I think it's not paying enough all of a sudden. Understandably so, because the needs of children are vast. So I think the first encounter of the experience when you become a father is one that could be very jarring. Because like I go back to the start of my response, because you realize you have to grow up. You have to embrace things that you probably had not had in your mind at any other point in time, because you are now responsible for the life of 10 years old.
Thank you so much, Peter. Next to Modex.
Yes, I'd like to say that being a father is indeed difficult, especially for in my situation where you never had your father in your life. So it's like when you become a father, you have nothing to stand on. So everything you try to do is maybe what people tell you, what you read, and you really try your best to be a good father. And I guess there's no perfect father except our Father in heaven. And so this is one of the issues I find that is plaguing our society. And you find, I don't know if the burden of being a father is so difficult for some men that you just give up and you don't take on the responsibility. But this, I must say, being a father, it requires a lot. So, as my dear colleague said there, you know, we become emotional. I recall, you know, I have two girls, Denisha and Ariel. I guess they're watching at this time. But of course, they're at secondary school. And I could see that when they were young, I tried best to protect them, you know, always carrying them, you know. I recall once, you know, I had one on this arm and on the other arm. You know, it's always, you know, make sure that I did not have, you know, a father in my life. So I try to make best to be the father to them that they can appreciate. And it really means that you have to sacrifice yourself and put your children first, or put your family first. So I guess this is the hardest thing, you know, really starting from a point where you don't have any kind of backing on, you know, the experience of your father yourself. Of course, you said about, you know, maybe as a student, maybe in school, you know, you have male teachers, and here is the reality. In primary school and secondary schools, the majority of teachers are female. So it's almost like you don't really get, and if you get maybe a male teacher that's going to show you a little attention to, you know, and bring you under his wings because you're not having a father. And that I must say, you know, I use that a lot as I went growing up, and it was very difficult for me not having a father. And I always look at, you know, having a father in school or even the community. And, you know, I guess there'll be more to see as we progress, but for this point, I'll rest at this time.
Thank you so much, Dennis. When Zach, every opportunity he gets, you always see Zach and his daughter. Sometimes you do karaoke together. Well, Jack is really sure. Zach, your turn, please. Okay, we're going to get Modest in a second.
Yeah. Beauty before beauty, right?
Yeah, that's why I asked you that. Seniority, and its privileges.
I consider myself to have been blessed. Now, I did not always have that attitude. Growing up as a young boy, my father was strict. He was, really the old school. he was strict. I grew up in a large family, very large family, and my father, and ably aided by my mother, kept everyone in check. Oh yes. You did not say what you wanted to say. You did not go where you wanted to go. You did what you were told to do. And if you didn't like it, well, you keep the grumbling in your back pocket. And sometimes I would wonder, like, why couldn't my father be like, one of the other fathers? And you see the other children after school, they all over, well, not just after school, they everywhere. They're doing what they want. Housework, no joking. Imagine me as a boy having to wash wares. But it is only after growing up I realized what a blessing that strict father was to me. And so I endeavored as closely as possible to emulate my father. And so, as a child, when you see this time for the lips, because I was not the model well-behaved child. I would have liked to think so, but the frequency with which I got my skin warmed up, I suppose that would indicate otherwise. And I remember as a child thinking, when I have my children, I will never meet them. And lo and behold, the time came, and I had my children. And I realized something that my parents must have realized. There is a biblical injunction: spare the rod and spoil the child. The Bible says that foolishness is bound in the heart of the child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. When I can say for myself, I don't think the rod of correction completely drove it away from me, but at least it kept it at bay for most of my life. So, first of all, let me see them. If anybody gets the impression that my father was not a good father, please, that is not my intention. I consider myself to have been fortunate. I had a great father, a fantastic example, a man who I have tried to pattern myself after because he was such a great father. Very unassuming, very quiet, not eloquent, anything like that. Not rich, he would soil, he would harden, and he maintained his family. He maintained his family. And there was never the time that we went to bed. If there were times when you didn't like the food, but you always provide. And I am trying to pattern myself after this great man. He died never knowing his greatness. But I understand. And I understand now even better what it takes to be a father. I have a son. And he, growing up, was extremely bright. And that was the truth. Because he always thought he could fool everybody. And so, I had to be rigid. Rigid. To the extent that sometimes I question myself. Am I doing the right thing? But then I remembered my father. And I can tell you today, this young man makes me so proud. He makes me as a father so proud. And if I had not had that example of a father in my life to hold him when necessary, to guide him, and to make him sit and remain sitting when everybody else or his friends were running all over. And he's watching right now. And I've told him how I feel about it. If I did not have that example in my life, I would not have been able to father him in the way that I did. So, I feel for those persons who do not have that example in their life. And I say to them, kudos, because not to have had the example, but yet working your way through it, I believe is a great achievement. Fatherhood is not easy. So my colleague who told us all that he did not have a father, but he's going and he's persevering and he ain't giving up. I say kudos. So many times we hear about fathers who just gone. They just don't care. Kudos to you, my brother. Because it is not an easy road. It calls for determination to be a real father. Not a sperm donor. A father. I rest.
Thanks for sharing your minutes and Augustus. We're going to go to Zachary.
Okay, the questions speak to the difficulty, stuff like that. It has not been that difficult for me, I have to be honest. And like Mr. Modestus Louis, my father was very strict. So many a time when he found me going on the wrong path, he put me on the correct path with the rod of correction. You know, you're young, you don't like it when your skin burns you. As an adult, I am very happy I went through that experience with him. He didn't abuse me. I didn't call it abuse. Nowadays, you got a little child and tap, it's abuse. It wasn't abuse to me. And I remember my mom telling me that when I was born, because before I was born, he was a heavy smoker. Smoked a lot. And the day I was born, he came with his friends, and he lit his cigarette, and after smoking it full before coming and see me, he told his friends, okay, this is the last cigarette I'm going to smoke. And they say, yeah, right. Don't believe me. He said, yes. Because Marvin Wage make happy me. I don't want to see my child smoking. And guess what? He never smoked again. So he was an example to me. He taught me how to be strong, to be independent. He taught me how to not to allow my heart to be so engulfed. And that was him, in the what he liked to call the entrapments of the snares of women, that I would not find myself literally reaching to that point where I want to commit suicide. That was my dad. He didn't want me to go down that. So he made me very independent and stuff like that. He made me love myself. But my dad, I had a criticism though. For some reason, I turned 16, became a police officer. So right now he sees me as an adult. So in his mind, that's a walk one. But for some reason, because of that closeness I have with him, I still wanted him there, not all the time, but most of the time. So we had a little back and forth when in that area. So I would say, Dad, listen, man, we don't learn enough. We don't go out enough. I mean, I know I'm an adult right now, but guys, what you need to understand, you never stop being a parent. You never stop being a parent. And even though we become older, some of us still crave that type of closeness with our dad. So I had a little back and forth with him. Okay, he passed. He passed. Before I became a biological father, I believe I got a lot of training because I was involved in relationships with women who had their own children. So I was a stepfather long before I became my own biological father. And that's why I want to tell stepfathers, sometimes in the conversation or the society kind of forget to, we have that cultural Creole name, beau-père and whatnot, and sometimes the stigma that ends with it. But it was through that experience of being a stepfather, I believe really prepared me to be a dad to my daughter. And my daughter was born, and I remember she being taken to the doctor to get her ears pierced. And when I saw her crying, I told the doctor, pierce my ear right away. And that's a true story. Because I just wanted to feel the pain that she was feeling. Difficulty, so it hasn't really been difficult for me. I believe the difficulties in fathering is starting now that she's 13. There's a lot going on there. Puberty and stuff like that. Secondary school, peer pressure, making some decisions that I'm not happy with. So I took the decision after a serious discussion with her mother, when I realized certain things was not going the way that my father intended for me. And then finally I was able to convince my child's mother to allow my daughter to live with me, and I'm happy she's living with me. So I could give her that type of support that I believe she needs. And you spoke of financial-wise. Yes, you are correct, my brother. When you have a child, everything just changes. It's no longer you. You're concerned about them, but at the same time, you have to ensure you instill in them that it's not that daddy will always be there for you. It's not that daddy has to ensure he leaves some form of inheritance for you. But I need to instill in you the mentality that you have to also work for what you want in life. And that's something I'm going to make sure that I instill in my daughter. So, my brother, you have no idea. You're like a hero to me. Yes, you are, because, in the work that I do, most times when I speak to a lot of delinquent children, whether male or female, there's always a common denominator. It's so unbelievable. When you're reading the studies, something passed through me. Because guess what, guys? The common denominator is, my father is not there. I was like, no, it just cannot be. So, why are you acting that way? Why are you acting that way? You've done this, you've done this, you've done this. Okay, speak to the principal. Miss, what is in terms of parental support, what's the situation? of the mother. But where's the dad? Abroad. Or maybe he's here, but he just doesn't care. So it just goes to show the importance of fathers, the importance of fatherhood, of being there, of being in the life of the child. So my brother, knowing that you grew up not having the dad, and you are doing your best, you're honestly a hero to me, and you are an example. You're an example out there to those kids, those young kids, who knows that, hey, okay, dad is not there, but I can make it, I can do it because of you. Thank you, my brother. That's what I'm saying.
Thanks for that, Zach. Brother Shea.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing your experiences, all beautiful experiences. And talking about the difficulty as part of being a dad, like Zachary, to be honest, I really have not had a moment that I can say this is so difficult, it's so hard being a father. I mean, there are challenges, of course, like everything in life. For me, the biggest challenge about being a father is working without a template. Because like you, my father was never around. So I have nothing to work from, to say this is what my father did, this is what I want to do, and so on. But, you know, for me, the lesson I learned from that is what not to do. First of all, is to be around, okay? And I think that's one of the most important things about being a father. You have to show up. You have to be there. And for me, you know, it's learning that lesson growing up as a child. Well, it was difficult because I watched my friends who are fathers. You had sometimes activities at school where you bring your father, I have nobody to bring, you know. And I had to grow up and work through that. But I had a tough mother who was a father. I mean, you mentioned about, you know, the stepfathers out there, but let me tell you, kudos to the mothers who are also fathers. You understand? But that does not negate the fact that a father figure is important in a child's life. The things for me, what I believe, and you know, growing up, when I know I decided at some point I will be a father, not early, I need to grow up and be a man, because I know that there are certain things that a child will need because of those things that I needed growing up. For me, when I look at the role of being a father, and I think, you know, in a sense it's what helps it be a little easier, because it's almost like I have written the formula down and I'm working from this formula and also learning as I go along. You know, from observation, okay, this hasn't worked, this is what I need to do. For me, the first thing a father has to do is to love your children's mother. Love your children's mother. And if you can't love her because you're not in the relationship anymore, you have to respect her. Absolutely, you must respect her. That's one of the best things you can do for your children. Love their mother, respect their mother. Secondly, for me, it's, you know, provide emotional support for your children. You have to be there and create that emotional bond with your children. Because the last point that I'm going to say, and it's the scariest thing for a lot of people when they think about becoming a father. Once you have that strong emotional bond with your child, everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place. So you have to provide emotional support. You have to provide moral support and be that moral guide, that compass for your child. Okay? Teach them what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. Because, you know, apart from loving their parents, providing food, giving them shelter and so on, for me, the most important thing that I can give my children is information, morals, and values to make the right choices and the right decisions when I'm not around. When I am not there, I want them to think about the things that they have learned from me and understand, okay, this is the choice I have to make. This is the right thing to do. Okay? And not do it because, boy, my father there, let me behave myself, that kind of thing. You know, no. I want you to behave yourself because you know it is the right thing to do. And you have to teach your children these things. You have to give them the information. You have to talk to them, and you have to constantly be teaching them things. You know, every day is a classroom for your children once you are with them. Every single day is a classroom. Just the conversations that you're having with them is a lesson. They have to be learning something from you. And of course, with all of that, you know, loving them, providing emotional support and having that emotional bond, teaching them the morals, the values. The scariest thing for a lot of people when they think about being a father is, I have to provide financial support. Now, to me, once you see you have that emotional bond with your children,
You'll get the money.
financial support is a joke.
It's a joke, yeah.
You don't even think about it. You do it. Okay? You do it because you know you have to take care of somebody. You know you want this person to be happy. You know what they need. You want to make sure that all of their needs are satisfied. Okay? And that does not mean spoiling your children. Sometimes you just have to tell your child, no, you cannot have this because of X, Y, and Z. Right? You have to have these conversations with your children. So for me, the most difficult thing about, being a dad was, creating the template myself, because I had nothing to work from, and, ticking off things that, that don't work, and say, okay, this is not going to work, let's go back to the drawing board, let's do this, and then ensuring that, it is working. Because, I just want to be the best father that I can be, because not for me, for my children, because I also want my children to be, my son, to be the best father he can be. Like you said, Modestus, your father was a great dad, and you learned from him, and you respected that, and so on, and you're passing it on. I want the same thing, for my son. I want him to grow up knowing that, my father was an awesome guy, awesome dad, and this is the kind of father I want to be, and for him to now pass that on to his son. Thank you.
All right. Right. So you don't want a cherry falling too far from the cherry tree.
Cherry don't make lime.
Give this man a round of applause, please. We have 3 more questions to answer, but will you guys pre-COVID I used to teach creative writing at the prisons. And when I go there to teach these guys creative writing, many of those guys, the number one lament is that they have kids outside. I remember speaking to one like a year and a half ago. He's been out for just over a year. And every time I see him walking around, it's always with his kids. Thank God he's still out. Because back then he was telling me, man, when I leave here, it was a capital crime. So just to show you that, sometimes the children can actually make a big impact on how you see life. All right, so granted, what all of you just said is the absolute truth. Social welfare, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We often hear about the family court being unfair to fathers. Do you believe that is true? And if yes, why? Do you believe the family court is being unfair to fathers, and why?
Yes. Yes, I believe it is. I believe that the family court is concentrating mostly on, when they say welfare, when we look at welfare, it's about talking. But I find the main focus most times is that of financial support. But there is more than just financial support. I would like to see the family court or the system, mother takes father to the court for financial support. What about the other forms of support? Emotional support. What about ensuring that the father and the child enrolls in some form of program where they spend time with each other, after school program and stuff like that. It cannot just be, because what happens, and it causes a rift between the father and the mom, because it's like the main topic is just money. It's just about money. It's about you're giving $200 or $250, but I could tell you that needs to be revised. And also, I am also aware, I know that there are fathers, because of their financial situation, it's kind of difficult. So I don't know if the family court could come up with some form of system that could ensure that a father pays his dues depending on his capability. All right? And I don't know, because it's difficult to see that there are fathers, especially during COVID, who've lost their jobs. You're not able to pay, and there's no doubt about that. You're not able to pay. And then my organization had to arrest me. I had to take them to Burnley, spend some time there. They're now out. They're still not able to work. They still got to pay the money. Their arrests are still there. It goes nowhere. It honestly goes nowhere. And then you also have the situation where there are some fathers or males who would bring up whether or not they actually father the child. There is no support system for that situation. The father would have to, on his own, so in other words, the court tells the father, hey, if you want to figure out whether or not the child belongs to you, it's all on you. It's all on you. Go get the money, where it is, go to the test. But until you yourself could provide this document, you are deemed the father. And then you have a situation where there are fathers who have found out after probably 10, 15 years of paying child support that the child is actually not theirs. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing should not be about money. Money is important. That is important. There's no doubt about it. We need to take care of our kids. But I just want the family court and the system to understand that when we just make it about the money, all the other important aspects that is needed for the proper development of that child is disregarded. That's what I want to see from the family court. So the family court has this place. There are some men, I have to be real, there are some men who can take care of the kids, and they choose not to. So we need that system, sadly. We need that type of system to ensure that these men do what they have to do. And so I can tell you, some of the men that we arrest on warrants, we shake our head. Because you just bought a brand new vehicle. You just extended on your home. You're wearing the latest clothes. You're in the club spending. And yet some of them literally say, you know what happened? I'll let her sweat. I will let her sweat. Why are you making the mother sweat? It's not the mother, it's about your child. And then they'll allow the mother to sign the warrant. It's 345. It's like a game. They'll allow the police to, some of them actually allow the police to arrest them. And then by the time they reach in the station, anyway guys, they pay the money. It's like a game. So the family court is needed. That system is needed. Because there are some men who choose not to. But I think they just need to focus a little more on not just the money, but the other support system when it comes to the child.
Thank you, Zach. I think Shane is going to go next. Right.
You know, Zach, you're absolutely correct. I think the system as it stands, what it's doing is breeding or supporting not fathers but sponsors. So you basically sponsoring a child, because you just give money every month. You're not being a father. You're basically just being a sponsor, And anybody can be a sponsor, Anybody can choose to be a sponsor or choose not to be a sponsor. But, going back to my formula, where once you create that emotional bond with a child, okay, it's nothing. You don't even have to think about it. You know, being concerned about the welfare of that child. What are they eating? What are they wearing? Are they in school? Are they doing well? And so on. Once you have that emotional bond with a child, with another person, okay? Because the child is a person. Once you have that emotional bond with that child, being a sponsor is to, you know, having to go on $200, which, as you said, man, that certainly needs to be revised, right? Because I don't think that's helping any child at all. But at the same time, that same system, I think, also does not allow some men who really want to be fathers to be fathers. Because you have a system where you actually go to a court, and the court forces you and says, you need to just put the money there. Just put the money there, okay? What about the man who, the time that he spends with his child, okay? Why doesn't the court also say, you need to spend 1 weekend a month at least with your child? All right? You need to take your child out, bring them somewhere, do something with them, right? We need to have a place, as you said, that you could go and meet the child. If you need a safe space, the parent figures, you know what, I don't want my child just going out with that man, right? So part of the system should be a safe space where a father and a child and, you know, his children can meet and you know, have a date together, spend some time together, create that emotional bond. And as I said, I keep saying that is what, to me, that's one of the most important things. And then it goes back again to my formula. A man who figures, let her sweat, I am paying the money, and so on, certainly does not love the woman and does not respect the woman. Because if you loved the child's mother, or at least respected that child's mother, you'd never do something like that. Okay? You would never do something like that. And if you have that emotional bond with your child, respect for the mother and love for the mother, it's, you know, it comes with it. Okay? You understand that this woman carried your child, right? This woman gave birth to your child. How could you not respect her at least for that? You know? At least for that. You know? That's not an easy thing. You know, if men had to carry children and give birth and so on, let me tell you. The
room would be almost empty.
We wouldn't be able to handle it. You know? We wouldn't be able to handle it. They keep saying, you know, men are the stronger sex and so on. But let me tell you, women are tougher than us in so many ways. In so many ways. And, you know, we just feel like, yeah, man, we're the men. We're strong and so on. But certainly the welfare system needs a revision, a revamp, a revolution, a change, because it's not welfare. As far as I'm concerned, it's bad for the children, and it's bad for a lot of the men who want to be fathers, okay? And the system does not allow them to be fathers. I know somebody personally. I just feel that he's not allowed to be a father because of the system. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Shane, for sharing. Peter?
Yeah, I'm kind of very happy that we spoke on that. And kudos to Zach for bringing out the issue of men who were stepfathers, who went above and beyond, even if that child wasn't their own flesh and blood. And I think sometimes, because we as a society we have pegged men like that as the beau père, you know, and it has been the butt end of jokes and so forth through our history, we fail to recognize that there have been some men who have stepped into situations
which could have created or fed into the family court system. And by the way they went about their affairs, they helped build and develop strong families by being that father figure, being that ever-present person, being that person to set the example and to help guide and build. So I say kudos to the men who have stepped in and done that. Further to that, with regards to the welfare system, I'm asking myself whether or not our approach to that welfare system is the reason for so much gender-based aggression between male and female. It somehow ends up at the center of that. Then we have to look at issues of now, we are now closely monitoring the growth of our population. Is it because of is the welfare system contributing to young people growing up saying, me, I have no children. The males are saying, because everybody has a couple horror stories. All of us here in this room know of a few brothers who get some real stress from that system, like Shane, like Zach is saying, which seems to focus solely on the financial. The sad thing is that we know of several cases where it is the male or the father who is the one caring for the child, and somehow that system is not putting the same amount of pressure on the female to contribute to the maintenance of the child. So
family court system is actually designed against the men. So imagine that you are a good father and you want your child to stay with you, that can happen. They always say they will put the child with the mother. And that is, I think it's written as law, it's written. So they don't give the husband, the father, the child, the mother could be, I don't know, taking drugs or whatever, or using the child. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so it's very difficult for the father to get the children or the child. So I believe in that aspect, the family court needs to revise that law, to revise that approach, and help them in. I mean, if I am a father and I'm genuine, I'm taking my children, let me take care of my children, let me take care of my girls, let me take care of my boys, let me take care of them. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Modestus?
I want to identify with a lot of what was said there. I am not familiar with the legislation that guides the family court at all. However, from a lot of what I have heard, it appears to be strongly biased against the males, against the men. Have we brought this upon ourselves? Most probably, yes. However, are we just going to lump every man in the same box together because some bad fathers have behaved in a particular way? Does that justify painting every father with the same brush? No, it does not, at least in my opinion. I believe that system is in total need of not just a revamping, a rethinking, a reimagining. Because just from what we have heard here this afternoon, even if you didn't know anything about the system, I think we'll realize that it is really not doing good. I think we have a standard amount of $250, whether it's a month or a week. I don't know. Month. Okay. For some people, I am sure that would be difficult. But for some fathers, they spend more than that when they go to a bar on a Friday night.
All the time.
So, then there is a question of the actual parenting. Because from everything I have heard of the family court system, it appears that the children are just incidental. The children are never at the center of the focus. I think it's all about punishing the man.
That's right.
Punishing the man. I have heard of stories where the children actually said in the court that they do not want to stay with the mother.
It's true. They are compelled straight.
And what they have to say is dismissed totally. I have heard of stories of young women who would allow the money to accumulate, or who would only go seek a warrant when carnival time is approaching, so that they can go and buy the costumes and, jump in the expensive vans. Is this being monitored? This is a perversion. How can you take the money intended for your children to go into carnival or party? It is a perversion. Who is monitoring that? Are our social services for real Thank God we have an organization like Do Nation, which is at least going to look to make changes. And all of this is not to allow those delinquent fathers off the hook. Not in any way, shape, or fashion. If you're a father, you need to step up. End of story. You need to step up. You brought a child to this world, you need to step up. The child needs you. Shouldn't be anybody having to tell you you have to put extra whatever. No. That should be a must. But then we have to think, what are we teaching to our children? What are we teaching our boys in school? Out of school too. What are they seeing? What are they watching on the TV? Because we allow the TV to raise our children. And social media and everything. Because those 5 and 6 year olds now, we're not concerned about what they hear or what they see. Well, watch TV. But you know what? 15 years from now, they're the next set of parents. 20 years from now, do we have fresh fodder in the social welfare system? We need to think on these things. And in the midst of that, while we're thinking, I believe we need to rethink and reimagine the entire social welfare system. It's not even a social welfare system, whatever you want to call it. Because social and welfare, if you look at the meanings of those two words, our social welfare system is not that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What is this?
Stan, I just wanted to say briefly, just to add something onto this, the whole welfare system. For me, every time I think about it, one of the biggest failures of the system is what Zachary mentioned. And Zachary, it's you doing your job, but you have a guy who maybe is having a hard time in the last 3 months, getting the money, getting a job, to put a little bit of money there, and there's a warrant that's not written. You go, you arrest him. You take this guy who is already having trouble, making ends meet. You now take him, put him in jail, put him at border leave. Already things are hard for him. You're now taking him. You just take him and take him out. So yeah, you are putting the money there, go to border leave. I don't see
how that is justified, as part of the welfare system. The man you gotta put the money there for the children, arrest him, and put him in jail. How have you helped the man? Okay. Most importantly, how have you helped the child or his children? He has problem getting work because he just come from Borderley. So you're making it even more difficult for him now to take care of his children. So as you said, Modestus, it's a complete rethinking of the system because obviously the system is not working.
Thanks for that, Shane. So thank you so much for your brief and candid remarks. We have 2 more questions and it's 7. So we're going to go through them briefly. The third question is, it makes me look bad. Okay, I'll read it. You'll know why. What's your take on men often refusing to share their feelings, even when they are suffering from various causes? What's your take on men often refusing to share their feelings, even when they're suffering from various causes? For example, most of the times, I said most of the times, don't want me all the time. Most of the times I go to the doctor, my wife has to be there with me. Now, you might say she drags me, but that's a different story. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys because I told her not to share that with anybody else. So don't go and tell her I told you. But it's a very common denominator, especially among men, that they often they're resigned to not sharing their feelings. But for the past 2 questions that you gentlemen have been answering, I guess there's this authenticity, this sincerity, this candidness by the way you actually describe your own personal lives as well as the circumstances. If this is a start for more men to do that, I think because I'm understanding that the program is going live and it's already affecting a lot of folks in a positive way. So anybody wants to go first with the question, what's your take on men often refusing to share their feelings about anything, even when they are suffering from various causes?
I think it's something in the makeup of a man, in the DNA, if you will. The question of being focused on the task at hand, the question of feeling that, I'm indestructible. Most men, and let's face it, most of us, well, not when you get to my age, but you'll get some very regular reminders that you're not indestructible. But most men tend to see themselves as being indestructible. This Naaman, it happened to Stan Feb, man. Stan is weak. That's why. Yeah. That can't happen to me. And that is our general attitude. We feel we are indestructible. So when the time comes and we really have to face the fact that you're not, it takes some real soul searching, even to admit that you want to go and see a doctor. So because you feel like that makes you probably a little less of who you thought you were. The thing about it is, if you live long enough, then you'll realize, boy, what I thought was not that. And particularly when you have to deal with a lot of the mistakes you made in early life, because the chickens come home to roost. Yeah, it's not easy. As to the emotional aspect of it, big boys don't cry. You fall down, your knee bruise, get up and go on. You cannot waste it. What are you crying for? You're a girl? Girls cry. Boys are strong. And this is what you grew up with. This is what... If there is a boy in your group who is quick to cry, we had a word for him. I don't know if any of you know that word. Oh, you know. Yeah. Senior. That boy always cry. Even he's a girl. Yeah. Senior. Okay. So, I think that Stan is part of our growing up, our part of our makeup as a man, our DNA, that we want to think or see ourselves as being indestructible until you realize you're not.
Thanks, Modestus. Peter?
Yeah, I think this particular this particular question speaks to the idea of men supporting each other. And I see, against the backdrop, I have a unique experience, not me only, but I went to an all-primary school, then I went to an all-male secondary school. And by doing that, it allowed us the opportunity to learn how, as men, we bond and we lean on each other. Furthermore, I got a chance to do paramilitary with the Cadet Corps and so forth. And the bonding of men in terms of their circumstances, in terms of their situations, and even in terms of education, and being able to lean on and count on each other, be part of a team, for those who play team sports, be it football, volleyball, or whatever. And even as we go through life, allows for the development of something truly special, truly special. You have a lot of men who seem indestructible, but they have that safe space where they can go, they can complain, they can say, boy. And it is so important for us as men, because so much is expected of us in terms of the society. And as Mr. Louis pointed out, the whole idea of being indestructible, being strong, being able to face whatever it is important for us to exhale. And so I think that while in our upbringing we were taught, keep everything in, keep things bottled up, I think more and more we see that a lot more men are learning, even if it is in the space of other men like themselves, that they can express how they truly feel. Because the truth be told is that all of us at different points in time, we become so overwhelmed by our responsibilities. Your responsibility as a father, your responsibility as a son, as a husband or boyfriend, your responsibility at work, your responsibility even to your very friends can seem very overwhelming, your siblings and so forth. So it is important then that you as a man have the opportunity to exhale. And I think the role of church and other groups help to create that platform. But I think also it is important for the society to recognize how sensitive the challenges are and how they affect men. Because men are under real pressure, real pressure, because we have somehow taken on the idea that the woman needs to be protected, her needs are important, she needs to be highlighted and so forth. And to some extent, we have pushed the men back. Ask yourself, when was the last time we observed, whether even locally or even internationally, the lauding of the achievements of men, if not for when they're involved in sport? The men who were humanitarians, the men who helped build things that made a difference in the life of others, the men who developed themselves so that they can be productive and useful. But we can talk about hundreds of women. So it's almost a feminization of everything. And no, I'm not a sociologist, nor am I attempting to be a social worker, but I'm just saying that in our circumstance, somehow the issues of men are being sidelined. And this pressure sometimes is leading to dangerous outcomes such as suicide and other desperate choices because people just feel they have nowhere to turn.
All right. 90 seconds.
I will be brief. I have no issues. All right. First, let me say that men have feelings too. Yes, I need to say that men have feelings too. So, as my good brother has said, that, this invincibility that I think, we as men want to uphold, there is kryptonite. There is kryptonite. And I want to say that this whole business of being macho it can be very detrimental to us as men. So in other words, as my good brother is saying here too, there's a lot of things that are affecting us as men, and we don't want to hold everything inside. And sometimes, sadly, what we see is the chromosome and the rope, and then we know of the statistics of men who have committed suicide. So that's what I want to say. I want to say here that we as men, especially myself, I'm going to learn, I'm going to try and break free from that mold, and don't be a man that say, hey, I'm strong, I'm also weak, and I have to learn to say, this is affecting me, I'm going through this. And it is said that sickness first starts with stress. So a lot of men here, we may be looking strong, but there's a lot of things affecting us, and we don't talk about it, and it is stressing us. We may smile, we may drink all the beers, whatever, and look cool, with our partners, but we are really under pressure. So we really have to find, as my brother was saying there, that safe space, and say, partner, what's going on with me right now? I'm about to lose my job, and I can't tell my wife that. I can't tell my child mother that because I'm afraid. And then to have that kind of safe space to talk. So this program that DoNation is doing right now is very important, and it's saying to men here as well as online that hey, we have weaknesses, we have feelings, and we must talk about it. Because if we don't, it will lead to our demise. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Shane?
Thank you. You are so correct, my brother, when you said men have feelings too. But this thing about men being indestructible and men are strong and tough and we're not supposed to show our feelings and so on, it's a social construct. I'll disagree with you, Modestus, when you say it's in our DNA. I think we have come to believe, we have believed it so much, it's been in our head so much that we think that it's in our DNA. But it is something that has been created by society. And I know for sure it's created by society, right? I'll give you why. I'll tell you why I think so. My son, growing up, as I told you all, I'm very emotional with my children, develop a strong emotional bond with them, hugs and kisses, tell them how I feel about them, and they in turn tell me how they feel, I love you. And so, we have a strong emotional bond. The kids go to bed, you give them a kiss. And my son, as a boy, little boy growing up, he's never had an issue, hugging his daddy. I give him a kiss on his forehead. As soon as he starts going to school, Daddy, you cannot kiss me. I'm a boy. No, that's not for me. It's as if he's already starting to feel as if, no, I can't show emotion because I'm a boy. I'm supposed to be tough, right? And it's coming from the society. It's what the kids are being taught, right? Not necessarily formally by a teacher, but by the other boys in the class, right? The way they interact with each other. The way the other boys will interact with girls, and they start to learn this, and it becomes the norm, and it becomes the standard. Men, boys, we're supposed to be tough. We don't cry, okay? But crying is very good, okay? Sometimes crying is so fair. Let me tell you, it's something, it has worked for me. There have been times in my life when, it's just been really tough, and the only thing that gets me through it is I just sit down somewhere and I just cry it out, and then I feel better, and as a man, I'm not ashamed or afraid to say that sometimes I cry, okay? Sometimes I cry because it's the only way for me to just let things out, and as you said, let go of the stress, which is so dangerous. you know. So, you know, we have to certainly, you know, as fathers, we have to teach our boys that it is okay to be emotional. It is okay to express your emotion. It is okay to cry if you are in pain. All right? If that's the only thing you can do at the time, it is okay to do that. All right? And, I mean, one thing I've learned over the years, when I look at that, it's that it takes a strong man to cry. That's it.
Not much more to add to all what has been said. Okay, so I'm very brief. I cry at movies too. Sad movies, I cry. Yeah. We need to support each other, man. We need to support each other. This culture, this culturalization in the Caribbean, in St. Lucia, among the black male, that we have to laugh at a man being emotional, a man trying to pour out his heart in a bad relationship or situation. Man, toughen up, man, you know, or laughing and stuff like that. We need to stop it. And I know this organization, Do Nation, will do its best to try and change the mindset of men, change the mindset of the society. You know, I could mention there are individuals like Mr. Martin James and Mr. Martin Weeks who are trying to start off a men's movement, you understand, in trying to change that mindset. We have also, let's not forget, also part of our populace is another marginalized group of men, the LGBT community. You understand? Where sometimes they still have this problem dealing with going to stations and make reports, and they're kind of scared to actually divulge what has happened because they fear a cop might laugh at them. We need to stop it. It's not proper. It's not good. And men have feelings too. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, panelists. Full disclosure, I cried when I watched Pursuit of Happiness. Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. These days I try to see if I can watch it without crying. I always fail. So thank you so much, gentlemen. Audience, we have 5 minutes. Any man in the audience wants to share briefly their situation, the circumstance, something you want to vent about, something you would have heard that resonated with you. Anybody in the audience? Any gentlemen? Yes. All right.
Thank you. Good evening to ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I've heard a lot of good things. Very good things. No, when I came in earlier on, I heard a friend of mine said, well, this is a men's conference, and there seem to be a lot of the ladies around. Good. So I see parenting, I see the role of the father as should be ably supported by the lady. I believe the mothers could make us better fathers. We all went to school and we have subjects. So I'm thinking all the time there, shouldn't parenting, shouldn't motherhood be a subject taught in school? So we want to be good. We want to be proficient. We want to develop that proficiency. And we're seeing from all of our stories here, some of us, the way we were brought up is the way we end up portraying our fatherhood in the same light as the way we were brought up. And some of us are brought up differently. For me, I admire Mr. Levy because his daddy was there 365 days. 24 hours a day. What about me? My father was a policeman who had 25 children, who had 4 women. So I was robbed, if I have to look at what Mr. Levy, from that fathership, from learning of being a father. And to make it worse, my father, he dominated the family. So my mother was just a silent partner. And when I was boxed and bounced around, she couldn't say anything. Because she said he's always right because he's the policeman. So I lost that emotional support from being the mother, from what should be coming from my mother. That would make me a better person. So I grew up and I now have kids. Well, I wasn't as fortunate as Mr. Cherry. He had it by choice. So that gave him enough time to nurture his understanding and so on and so on. And the choice was not his. I guess the choice was between the two of you all. So I didn't have mine by choice, by chance, and came very early. So my grandfather, but I realized that even today, as a grandfather, I still have to be fathering. I still have to be giving dishing out good advice to my son, who already has his own. So I really believe that I'm beginning to think that we should be teaching parenting, so that we develop that proficiency, so that 10 years from now, we all will be on the same, we will taught parenting at school. Anyway, I want to again welcome you all. Good wishes from my community, Conway Barnhill. Has transformed. Recently, when I grew up, it was only people living there. Now we are nested in between some of the biggest institutions and around. Education, church, media, the voice. And millions of people come to work in my community. So, yes, still, I see that we seem to have the worst set of fathers because it's a ghetto, and I see only bad examples of decision making in terms of the parenting and so on. So I can understand some of the deficiencies that those kids will be growing up with, because they are not brought up, in the best of conditions, and the spirituality, the knowledge, of how to bring up a child is lacking in both the parent, both the mother and the father. So I really feel that we need to maybe start somewhere. In closing, I want to thank. I really want to thank Do Nation. And let me tell you something, Mr. Tim. The first community when you get into Kashmir is Conway Barnhill. I will be. Promise me, Mr. V. Promise me. I promise you all that. Not too long from now, I will be inviting donation to the Conway Barnhill community. I thank you all for being here, and I thank the viewers, and I hope my sentiments shared could at least create some discussion, some discourse going forward. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you so much, my brother, for sharing that. So we don't have to leave the building to start creating that change. We're actually starting to create a change. So the next proposed phase of this project, you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead. Just be brief.
Good evening. Just two things. As an educator, I vehemently oppose the view that everything has to be taught in school. It's like everybody thinking everything you want to learn, it should be taught in school. Every time you go to some kind of social activity and they have to come up with some kind of moral, some kind of construct, something that has to be taught, do it in schools. No. I remember one time having a discussion with Derek Walcott, and somebody asked him, do you think Creole should be taught in schools? And he said, not really. Because yes, if you want the formality of Creole, you go to school. But in terms of creating opportunity for Creole to be learnt and Creole to continue to flourish, you do that in the community. You need not necessarily legislate it to be taught in school. So I want to say the same thing here. Those things that you feel that should be taught in school, fine. But the society can create the spaces and create the opportunities to teach it differently. Though full up school, our little curriculum have enough, children have enough to do already. Trust me, the time that we're in school, we have so much to do already. We don't want no more. No more, please. Give us a chance to do what we have to do. It's not work we don't want. We don't have time to do it. Yeah, if you take more, you're just overloading it and it will not over us. And I have to be brief. Let me move on. The other thing is, I worry about the fathers on the table here, and maybe those sitting here too, because somehow I get the feeling fathers and by extension parents have a feeling they're making children for themselves. So they have to determine what the child's moral perspective is, what the child's future endeavors are going to be, because when they meet that child, they have all the ideas what a child should be. And I sat there listening to you all, and I was afraid. And I say, praise God, I didn't have a father like any of these people, and I don't want to be a father like these people fathers. Children must be who and what they want to be. And we shouldn't have no control over that. We somehow thinking that we must raise our child because my father made me a fireman and he had those values, so you must have those values too. Wow, boy, you'll make me afraid, boy. And praise God, y'all, my father, I had a wonderful one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you keep it under 30 seconds? Yeah, because we're trying to wrap up.
I will keep it short. Although I know and love this brother, I know him a long time, so I suspect he trying to push us in a particular conversation. So I'm glad for that. But here's the thing: if we, as a collective, see ourselves as being responsible for guidance. Notice nobody is saying we making nobody do nothing. You can't make nobody do nothing. You know, you have a pet, you have a little pup, you raise it from small, and when the day he get bad on you, he give you a scratch and he turn around and he look at you almost as if, I don't owe you that one, I don't owe you that. So the point is, if as fathers, we can assume some degree of responsibility so as to be a touchstone or to be an example so that it creates in these young ones who are coming on real life examples that they can relate to, then we would have done our job as parents. It is not about determining whether you do this, do that, but it's to give you realistic examples that when the time comes, like Shane said, when most of us not around, because as a parent, you only have that limited space. But what you're praying for is that what it is you're going to invest in that individual when the time comes, when confronted with the hard decision and to choose the best option. That somewhere it clicks, because as a parent you say it 500 times and you say, yeah, that one time, and then they remember, you say, oh, thank you, Father, because they remembered I say not that. And that's all. So we as men in the society, as fathers, once we can build that capacity within our children, then we would have done our community, our country, and the world a favor. That's my take.
Thank you so much for that, Peter.
Can I? Okay. I just want to say very quickly that for some reason or the other, some of us think that children must determine their direction. Now listen, no one will give a child a 10-gallon bucket or 20-gallon bucket of water weighing 100 pounds to pick up and carry. The child will try, but this is just beyond his strength. Why should we make children make decisions which are beyond their capacity at that age to make? I will give 2 examples because it's short. There was an instance at home, I will not give the details, but my father, and that was towards the end of his life, my father started behaving in a manner unlike him, which I had never seen, behaving towards some people who came in. He was really angry. And I stopped him. Everything he said, I stopped him. I said, no, Pap, not here, not now. And he was boiling mad. But he subsided a little. I shooed the people off. And then he turned around and I
I have never witnessed my father so angry. And he said to me, so now a man cannot even speak at his home. I said, no, that is not it. You raised me to know right from wrong. So now I cannot stay here and see you doing the same wrong you taught me not to do. Okay? He directed my childhood. The other example I will bring up. My son, who I alluded to a little earlier, has a younger brother who is of a different father. And on my son's wedding day, his younger brother was the best man. When he was speaking, because he's mature, I mean, must have been 25 or so, no, older than that, maybe almost 30 at that time. When he was making a speech, he said that when he was growing up, the way that he saw me dealing with his brother, he thought I was a monster. He saw me as a monster. But having grown up, he wishes that his own father dealt with him in the same way that I dealt with his brother. The same way that he thought was a monster. Children are our responsibility, and we have to guide them. We need to guide them. And for us to decide, to tell ourselves, we're going to allow the children to make those decisions which they are not equipped at those ages to make, is abuse, in my opinion.
Yes, after 15 seconds, I would like to say to my dear brother here that I am an educator as well, and I want to support that we should teach parenting in schools, not primary schools, secondary schools. Let me explain why I'm saying this. Right now we have a situation, teenage pregnancy is on the rise. Also, when you look at society, look at the homicides. We need to reach out, because you say the thing about it, when you look at persons getting the license, you have to go to driving school. All right? Driving a vehicle, that's a piece of machinery that's very dangerous. What about teaching people how to parent their children properly? That is essential. And I would put it even before getting your driver's license. So, parenting, I want to agree with you, my dear brother, as an educator, that we should teach parenting in schools, because this can help us solve a lot of problems that is now affecting us now in society. All right? Thank you so much.
Just hold the mic for me. In this world of technology, where we have so many crazy people online, you understand? Our children are very vulnerable, right? They have devices, and even if you don't give them a device, they could get access to one. You think you could just allow your child to predetermine their actions online and stuff like that? Man, they need the guidance. And he said he's scared of we being the fathers, whatever. I'm scared an educator has that thinking. I'm sorry.
And finally, Shane,
I'll try to be as quick as possible. Peter, like you, I mean, I've known Zol for a long time. I have a lot of respect for him. But, you know, as everybody here has said, children need guidance. And Zol, you have completely contradicted yourself when you said not everything should be taught in schools. Not everything should be taught in schools. But then you come and say that we cannot tell children what to do, who to be, and so on. These are the things, these values and morals, they're being taught at home. As parents, that is our first job. That is our duty, to instill in our children the values and the morals which will help them make the right decisions when we are absent. Okay? That is it. Okay? And I mean, you cannot tell me that I cannot force my values on my children. Right? I mean, generally, society has a set of values that is accepted by all. You cannot just go down the road and just take something that is not yours. Yours are thief. Right? My children have to learn that from early. This is not yours. You don't touch it. Who's going to teach them that? Okay? I have to teach them that. I have to guide them. All right? So, I mean, all I can tell you is you may disagree with what I'm saying here. But what I can say now is my children are awesome, dude. All right. So whatever I'm doing is working.
All right, on that note, we started off by saying our kids our children are awesome children, and you ended with that. Right now I'm going to call up Mrs. Niles, who's going to be making a presentation. This was some spirited debate. I really like that. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And my brother will be reaching out to your community. So, yeah. So before you leave, just give your contact to Di.
We have a little token for you because we appreciate you so much. I know it took a lot for you to come and have those discussions here. It's the first one that we're doing in this series, but we just want to give it we know it can never make up for your time and everything, but it's just a little token of appreciation for you giving us your time today and sharing these wonderful, this very important topic. And we'll have the vote of thanks, but I know I like talking. My CEO must be watching. So why did I give her the mic? But yes, Donations Foundation really appreciates you, and we'll just give you this little token so you can remember that you contributed to the changes that are coming.
Applause for Peter Lewis. And a round of applause for Sergeant Zachary Hiplet. A round of applause for Dennis Joseph. Head Funk, my good brother. Round of applause for Sheehan Cherry. And obviously, right, Modestus Louis, thank you so much. And by the way, gentlemen, you didn't just get this because you were excellent today. We actually issued a questionnaire to your children, and they said you deserved it. So, oh, you think you're all going to throw that? Yeah. And Mr. Victor Price, he's right over there. Almost every forum I show up to, this brother is there. Mr. Henville, Mr. Henville. Ah, there he is. All right. Mr. Michael Jean. Ah, there he is. Right. Mr. Christopher Duncan. One of the best actors you'll come across. Yeah. One of the best actors and PE teachers, man. Bernard Sintage. Right. Mr. Christopher Lamentine. Right. Mr. Sheldon Archibald. Oh, there he is. See, all the fathers showed up, eh? Mr. Godfrey Casimir. Right, there he is. Our DJ never lets up. He always shows up. Mr. David Moise. There he is. One of the people who get things done for us. And Mr. Vitus Peter. Your wife sold you out. She said you're a great dad, so thank you so much for showing up and supporting us. And hey, whoa, I'm not deserving, but I'll take it anyway. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let me just go through this quickly. The next proposed phase of this project for fathers, we'll see fathers participating in a 2-week emotional intelligence and positive parenting training. Somebody asked for that? And this will solidify the various aspects of parts 1 and 2 of this project. So part 2 will be, the training will feature social transformation officers, motivational speakers, and professionals within the child care and psychological spheres. In phase 3, Donation Foundation hopes to address the troubling subject of incarcerated fathers. Many fathers in today's St. Lucia put all their effort into the seamless operation of the home without a second thought of their appearance. As such, Donation Foundation will carry out an intense survey to prepare proposals of change not limited to dads who are currently incarcerated. Children benefit from having 2 parents in their lives, people. Whether the dad is still in the family home or whether their parents are separated, dads have a unique role in parenting their children. Moms are great. They do a fantastic job raising their children. However, there are so many benefits of having a dad actively involved in a child's life. It's worth looking at the benefits and remembering why it's good for children to spend regular time with their dad. Ever too often we hear about children growing up without their dads in our community. We hear of dads going through this hardship of mothers using the children to target the dads. Fathers are sent to prison for not being able to pay child support, like we said earlier. Whilst we do have dads who don't take up their roles, as everyone said, we do have fathers who care and would give anything for their children. This project is intended to have sufficient positive impact on the financial and psychosocial well-being of the family. We intend to teach fathers how to manage stress. We intend to train parents in the theory and practical application of the concepts surrounding emotional intelligence and positive parenting. We intend to provide a proposal to the Family Court/Department of Gender Relations on dealing with single fathers and the welfare of the children/family. We also intend to assist fathers after due diligence and partnership with the corporate society with job placement. Some of you alluded to that. Having fathers who would have, reneged on their payments for various reasons, to give them a part-time job placement. The project is proposed as a pilot for future application on a larger scale, depending on the successful outcome of the evaluation component. The project will span 11 regions: Babonneau, Castro, Micoud, Vieux-Fort, Choiseul, Soufrière, Canary, and Story. The fathers will be selected Foundation's Community Liaison Officer, along with the Transformation Officer or the Welfare Officers for the aforementioned regions. The specific criteria for selection are as follows. 1, the individual must be a father or father figure. 2, the individual must be willing to participate in the evaluation phase of the project. And 3, the individual must be willing to participate in the live airing of the project. The participants will undergo the following training. 1, a 2-week emotional intelligence and positive parenting training with a team of professionals in this field. To culminate the 2-week training with the certified professionals, the dads will be required to participate in an online study as to how the training inspired them to be better or even greater dads. To do all this, we need a collective of efforts of all interested parties. As a registered non-profit organization, donations, resources, human and financial, can only go so far, which is why we encourage individuals and organizations who want to make this positive difference in the lives of people who need help to support us on this journey. So we call in on volunteers, we call in on sponsors. I see a lot of like-minded folks who want to jump on board. There's no membership fee in terms of joining Donation Foundation. You can just reach out to us. We discuss topics every single day as to how to help our people in our community. So we want to thank every panelist who has been here. Mr. Modestus Louis, a round of applause. Mr. Shane Sherry, Mr. Dennis Joseph, Sergeant Zachary Taylor, I'm tired of calling him Corporal, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte, and Mr. Peter Lewis. It was a very inclement day, and you all made it. And we also want to thank everyone in our audience who showed up. Many of you are dads. We also want to thank everyone in TV Land who was actually part of this exercise. So I'm going to call up somebody who's going to give you a really cool vote of thanks, and that is Mr. David Moise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stan. You were doing such a good job there already. So I was excited about going home right now. So let me just thank our panelists again, Mr. Louis, Mr. Sherry, Mr. James, Sergeant Hippolyte, and Mr. Lewis for such a wonderful job. I would like to thank each of you for the encouragement, and here goes trouble. I would like to thank each of you for the encouragement to our fathers and generally to men, because I'm seated there, I'm not yet a father. And I'm really moved by what was going on here tonight. So the encouragement to our men to rise up, and to be the best fathers that you can for your children, in the lives of your children, to become active fathers in the lives of your children. You shared with us your challenges of being a father, but after it all, and in spite of the numerous challenges that were mentioned, you did share with us that you enjoyed being a father. Some points of encouragement that I noted: fathers are very often looked upon as being examples for children, and the father needs to do a good job so the children can follow that example. Secondly, let us stop being the fathers who are not there, but to be around and to show up for our children. Build a strong bond with your children, as it makes it easier to be a father for your children. These are words of wisdom that should be written somewhere and spoken of every day. Thank you for being real with us tonight and for reminding us that we all are humans with strengths and weaknesses as well. Kudos to you, members of the panel. Our moderator, Stan Bishop, thank you for a job well done, and in guiding our discussion. To you, the audience, thank you for braving the inclement weather and for being part of this discussion. I hope that you're empowered to go out there and to continue being the good fathers that you have been. Continue doing the good things, and where adjustments need to be made, to not be afraid to do so. I'd also like to thank our sponsors for the generous donations, whether in kind, financially, or with the time. We'd like to say thank you to Michael Fulgence, Blue Waters, Heineken St. Lucia, Base Events, Goddard Catering Groups, and GVD for covering this activity. Finally, to the executive and members of Donations, we want to thank you for your energy and your energy invested, in putting together this wonderful activity. Let's show some appreciation to this team. And finally, I just want to also acknowledge our viewers at home, and I want to thank you for tuning in into this activity. Let me take this opportunity right now to wish all fathers a happy Father's Day in advance. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you so much, David. And happy Father's Day to all the panelists, men in the audience, and everyone watching this online. Make this Father's Day a difference by trying to become better. I promise to do the same. So happy Father's Day. We're going to adjourn now to right over there for some nice light refreshments. So fathers, you'll have to start using your cup from now on. Thank you so much. My name is Stan Bishop, and it was a pleasure being here with you guys. Thank you so much.
Listen to what happened. Why